Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of the EcoStruxure Machine Expert HVAC. I'm your host, Leandro Mada, and in this video what we're going to see are the global variables that we have in the software. So let's go to the presentation. So the idea of this video is to show you the global variables that we have in the softwares. Also the local variables that we have in the PUs, how to add them, that's going to be quicker. And then how to work with arrays so we can work in a different way. So let's go here and see. Oops. So by default, when we create a project, we are going to have what we call in other software GVL, global variable list. That is here. It's called global underscore vars. This is the variable that came by default when we create an application. Okay, and inside the GVL, if you press the minus over here, you should be able to see everything inside this. And by default, we have this CNT variable that is just a counter in each cycle of the controller. So by default, we have one, but it doesn't mean that we cannot add another one. Okay, so if we double click on this one, we should be able to find this view. So let's go to the application so I can show you. So here you should be able to see this. Right click, double click, you should be able to see the tabular view. Okay, you can see here in the top right that you have this grid over here. This is the tabular view, and here is the textual view. So if you want to write in text and then put it over here, probably simply that way, but you need to remember the syntax for this. Okay, and you have also this one, but this will be available when we are online to the controller, so we can see the variables over there without using the watch. And we're going to explain that later. But let's go back to the grid. So in order to add variables into this GVL, if we don't know the syntax in the text, we just simply use these buttons over here to insert record and the other one to delete them. Okay, simple as that. And then here we just define the name, for example, x variable 01. Here you can define the type. You just click over there and you can select basic types, and you can have the basic types that we have: boolean, int, double int, float, the string. You have all of them. Something that probably isn't right is that in the M171 optimized, the string I believe is not available, but check that for me, or at least in the configuration per DPROM, don't remember, but be careful on that one. So if we continue with the presentation, here we have already seen the double click, which has changed between the tabular and the textual over there. Okay, and okay, we have already seen how to add and subtract one of the records. Okay, it's very simple. This one sometimes, I don't know, we touch the thing without wanting to, and this is no longer available. So in order to add that one, we just need to go to view, toolbars, and then here the project. The project needs to be checked, otherwise you should not be able to see that and you don't know how to add it. And remember, if you right click, yeah, you can insert. Okay, but just to let you know that. So view, toolbars, projects, and you can have it over there. Then another way is to go here in textual and just delete what you want or add a new one. For example, I variable 02, and this is going to be int. If you go to the textual, yes, there we go, you have it. Hello there. Hi. You should be able to see here how is the comments in this particular case. Oops, Control Z. There we go. Simple. So let's continue with this presentation. I already explained this part. We already saw how we can change the variable name. It's simple. how we can add the type. So we just click over here, and then in order to select the basic types, we just need to go over here in the object browser, select the basic types, should be able to see this list. Later we're gonna see that if we have a structure, we just select user type, and you should be able to see the structure also here, and all the internal structure. So we have it the same, not only ours. So now let's go into a different way, because having the GBLs is simple, okay? And I believe I didn't explain how to add a new one. Just bear with me. I didn't explain that before. Okay. So before going to more details to the arrays, what I wanted to show you is that we had the possibility to add more GBLs. Okay, I have that name from Machine Expert, so I'm going to still using it. So imagine that you have different GBLs, just to have an idea of how to follow the code in a different way. You just right click, add object, and here we have new global variable groups. It creates a new one, new var groups. We can right click, rename it. So for example, GBL, oh no, auxiliaries. Change the name. We can add variables over here. For example, I don't know, aux, counter, boolean, underscore, no, accumulator, int. We can have it over there, and we can use it in the program in everywhere that we want. So this is a good way to have a GBL and define it for different parts. I know probably you have a GBL for instance of the function blocks, another one for a specific part of the machine. You can have it over there. So it's going to be much easier for you to go in there and make the watch. So it's going to be much easier for debugging, or at least that is how it works in Machine Expert. I don't remember here if it's possible, but one way of doing that is that, for example, in Machine Expert, you have the possibility to put the name of the GBL dot, and then you have access to the variables here. I don't think it's possible. Let's just double check. No, it's not possible to do that, but I believe it's a good way to separate the things and easy to follow the program. Okay, so now that we have seen this, in the PU you also have the locals, and it's similar. You can add and remove it from there. The only issue is that the global can be used in any of the PUUs, but the local is only for that specific PUU. So if you have a variable, for example, that needs to be used in different PUUs and is defined as a local, you cannot use it. You just need to name it as a global. That's the only consideration that you need to take care of. So let's continue with the presentation. Now, yes, so let's talk about the arrays. So in EcoStruxure Machine Expert HVAC, we had the possibility to create an arrays, but these arrays are only for the global variables or the local variables. As far as I know, we cannot set it on the EEPROM or the status. So in order to have an array, basically we have a specific column on the definition of the GBL variable called array. So if we click in there, we should be able to see this, a scalar or array matrix. So we can create like a array or matrix depending on the dimension that we want for this. So if we select array and we only use this dimension 1, it just create an array. Okay, so we have just one row and different columns. Okay, just put it away. So in this case, the array starts from the position 0, okay, and then I need to define where it wants to finish. Okay, so it starts from 0, and it means that the size of this array is going to be of 5 because it goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the size is 5. And this size is the amount of variables, basically. So I have 5 variables of the type that I'm going to define. In this case, as you can see in presentation, I define this variable array AI variable type int and array. So if I configure this array, I'm going to have these variables already to be used. So this is how you can access to the data. So between brackets, you just need to use the index for that array to have access. I don't know if there is index, but yeah, you can call it index. So based on the index, we should be able to access to the specific part of the array. So if we are going to create, for example, motor current, okay, an array, we should be able to define, okay, have an array of motors, okay, and all of them is going to be the current. So we just need to define which is the correct array. And this is useful, for example, when we work to easily exchange information, okay, on, for example, on an HMI. So we have our image of the element, and we just change the index. So the data, only the data is changing, but the visualization, it isn't. So here is the definition, the final definition. You can see the name of the variable, the type, and here is defined as array from 0 to 4. So it means that you can have 5 variables inside. In a way, the size is 5. And here is the syntax in case you want to use text, but you can easily change between, you can swap them. Now, the same can be applied having an additional dimension, second dimension. So the array now become a matrix. So now we have rows and columns. So this is the definition. Okay, rows and columns. So the size is similar, the same. You just define +1, just to have an idea. And then here you should be able to see this. So this is my variable. Just move this a little bit. Brilliant. So this is how we're going to define the dimension of this matrix. So the same is going to be the same, the definition. The only thing is that in the column array, we just need to click in there and define a new dimension. So as soon as define this new dimension, we should be able to see. The idea is to have like this, something like this. So I have a matrix, depending on the amount of rows. So here I'm going to specify the rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the columns, 1, 2, 3. So you can see the 0, 2, 3 elements. But in this case, it's going to be 3 rows. Once you define this, it's important to know how to access to each element over there. Okay, so as you can see over here, for example, this is the name of the variable. So I'm going to access to the position 2, 1. Now we're going to see what is what. But this is the definition and how it's done. Okay, and this is how you can use on the text if you want to easily name it. Now, how we can access to this information, how we can work on this. So as soon as we define this, imagine that we want to use those variables. It's simple. It's important to know the variable name. Then between these brackets, no, it's not brackets, but inside those brackets, you can use the index, for example, for the array. So we go, in this case, we want to use the element from here that in my watch, just hide myself. There we go. So from my watch, you can see this array. This is number 3. It's this one. I'm going to move it to the row 2. This is the 0, 1, and 2. So I'm going to be in this size. column number 1012 is gonna be this one. So if it match, it use this. So I'm going to move from here this value to this value. That's, you can see how it moves to the value number 5. So I know sometimes this is the first time you see it, it can be a little bit confused, but once you get the idea that it starts with 0, just need to add 1. It's gonna be simple, or subtract 1, depending on how you want to access to this. Yeah, it's simple. Just need to remember that it starts with 0, so it moves everything, but it's simple. The important thing is that you have matrix and you have an array. So having the array in this case is easy for not to reuse the code in case you want to make, I don't know, how can I say it? In case you have a 4, okay, you have an index, so you don't need to you can see the data, but having the array is a much better way to program if you want to use iterations using the while and for. It's going to be much easier for you to work with this. The matrix also is going to be easy for you, so you have one name of the variable and you just easily point to what you want. It's much simpler in that way. Now that we have saw before the structures, we saw it before, or maybe later I believe it's gonna see it. So having the structure with array is something much better, because you have, for example, the definition of or a pump or a motor or a valve with all the different variables, and you just define the array of that structure so you can easily work with that. But we're gonna see it later. What I want you to know is we had the possibility to use arrays, we had the possibility to use matrix, and there's another dimension, okay, 3D dimension that you can use in order to work with this. Okay, that is important in how to access and how is the syntax. The definition is much better if you use the tabular, define the dimension, and that's it, rather than having the text one, because probably it's too much to remember and it can be a little bit confusing sometimes. So one thing, probably already mentioned that before, is how we can name the variables. I usually use AR for array, or M for matrix, and then the variable type that I'm going to use, but it's up to you at the end. Here I put it. So basically I will explain here, in case we want more GBLs, we just right click over there, add new variable group, and then we can rename it. Simple as that. Once we have the variable over there created, we just drag and drop into the code and we can use it. This part I didn't show it. So here, auxiliary in there, this one again, plus this. Okay, I wanted to do it a different way. So basically it's the counter, X counter. I know why I put it that way, but there we go, something like that. So you can drag and drop into the code. It's gonna be easy for you, and depend on the code that we are working with. For example, if we're using function block, delete me time. If you drag and drop, for example, here it allows you to use input or as an output. Okay, and then you just drag and drop the variable that you want or the function that you want, and then you can do whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is one way to work on this one, but it's just going to, the main idea for you is how you can create global variables so you can use in the code. Okay, so this is something important. Variables are in the GBLs, doesn't retain the value. So if you want to say the configuration of your machine, you don't need to use the GBL, you just need to use the EEPROM parameters in order to not lose the information. Of course, you can also use constants, but I believe I didn't mention that in the presentation. So if we go back to the GBL, here in the attribute, you have the possibility to retain a constant initial value 15, okay, and that's it. That value will not be lost because it's a constant value. And the retain, it doesn't work at the way we want. And I'm going to go into details, but I believe there is only one specific place for retain, and it doesn't work as other PLC that we know. In order to retain the data, we just need to use the EEPROM variables, and that's it. So open the project, create a new GBL, change the name of GBL, compile the project, add variables. So check the definition array and matrix. So let's go into that one and see how it works. So I'm going to create this GBL. It's already there. So I'm going to create array, I don't know, tank 1, array tank level. Okay, so it's going to be int. Here you have more things, but I'm going to into this part, which has defined auto, all of this auto, and that's it. Array. So we have an array. We're going to define 0 to let's go 9. So we're going to have 10 tanks in this case, and I'm going to create a matrix. Array. I forgot the ints. So array int no, matrix int tank level. So here it's going to be int 0 to 3 and 0 to 2. So it's going to be 4 rows and 3 columns. So now that we have this, just compile. May probably get an error or something because I wasn't able to follow what I have. Okay, don't worry about that. So now delete me. Let's go to the main and see what we got. So GBL tank. This is going to be the array. So here, let's add the tank, the matrix. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we need to use the brackets in order to access to the index that we want. Okay, so we have this part. And you're going to specify, for example, the index number 4. And here we just need to define column, the row and column, so 2 and 3. Let's 1, 3. Let's see the definition. 1 and 2. Let's go 1 and 2 because it's going to be outside the limit that we wanted. 1 and 2. Okay, so the position, the column 2, column 3, and the row number 2, okay, is going to be moved to the array. The position number 4, the 5th position, is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there we can simulate this just to quickly show you. And let's minimize this part, use the watch. Let's delete this part. Connect, yes. Yeah. And use on the watch. We're gonna cover that later, the watch, but now I'm going to show you. So here, if I want to see the actual value for 4, if I change this, it's not going to be possible because I'm writing this value. So If we go here, we can see that we have zeros, 1, 2, and 3. So I have 4 rows, okay, and 3 columns. So if I go to the element 1, 2, 1, 2 is this one, and I press, I don't know, 78, it moves the value 78. Okay, so that will be the idea of this. Of course, if we use, for example, a 4, where this one is going to be the index, we can associate that to a number. So let's use the value here, underscore IACC. Move this, yes. So I can show you that depending on that value, I can move it to the new position. I'm using it, my bad. So let me just delete this, delete me, remove the program, download again, because this one is incremented, that's why. So let's go back, yep. See, the value is 0, so let's go here, 1, 2, it's gonna be 78. So it's moving over there. So now I can change this to number 5. Number 5 is going to be now 98, and it changed. And here I can keep moving and change the data. Okay, so this is how you can work on this. That's the idea. And you use the same variable, they just changed a variable to access to the information that you want. That's the idea, basically. So I have already mentioned this part, override definition. So it is important to know this part, how it works, the array, okay, 0, 1, 2, the definitions, how you can access first the row and then the column. Okay, so that's the main idea here. So there we go. So this is how you can work with the different GBLs. It's important that you create as many GBLs as you think is going to be good for you to identify the code. We have already have one by default. It's important to get familiar with the arrays and matrix, so later you should be able to see how your code can be improved using this. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I see you on the next one.